What I would do tonight is something a little bit different. This is a very important topic. Our brothers in the house tonight, Fred Salazar and Eric Robles, former United States Marine Corps veterans now. Love it. The hearts are already going up. And when we talked about having a conversation on circles, it was around the topic of PTSD. So we're going to talk about navigating PTSD and the paths to healing. And we're going to talk a little bit in expanded conversation, meaning this is not just about veterans, but their families, their friends, the community. And I think the topic at large, PTSD, is something that maybe goes untalked about or unspoken about more than it should. So without further ado, would you help us welcome our veterans, Fred Salazar, Eric Robles, to the Circles app? Gentlemen, good to have you here. Thank you for being here.
Oh, man, thanks for having us.
Yeah. So, guys, I wonder if you could do me a favor, Fred, if you want to kind of jump in and take the lead. I'd love for you to give us a little bit of background about you, your service, just kind of what led you down this road to do some work. I know both of you are, we're not experts on the subject, but it is a passion in your heart. I know you see it in the field. You see it when you're riding a mountain bike. You ride with people all the time that are dealing with this. So maybe a little bit about your story, a little bit about PTSD that you know of. Fred, you want to launch us and kick us off?
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, let's
All
get
right,
it.
so let's see a little bit about myself. So, I guess we'll start with military service. I joined the Marine Corps when I was 19 years old in 2002. I got out of the Marine Corps in 2010. I had various jobs. I was what they call a marksmanship coach, assisted the instructors on teaching various aspects of marksmanship, shooting rifles and pistols and stuff like that. I also worked at the what's called the School of Infantry, where the Marines who are in the infantry field come and learn how to basically be combat Marines. So while stationed there, I'll go into like the whole PTSD aspect for me there. I was, uh, you know, I'd been there for a couple of years already, and it became an NCO, which is more of like a supervisor role. And we ended up in an office setting for a while. And one of the Marines that was there, during, for training, and I guess ended up taking his life in one of our restrooms. He used a belt, and it just so happened that one of the Marines I was in charge of found him, called out for me. I jumped over, the little desk area that we were at, ran into that restroom, and it was, at that point it was beyond help. There was nothing more we can do, but we really struggled to get him down. He had kind of gone into one of the toilet stalls and locked the door, so we couldn't get in there. And that was the first obstacle, was to get in there. The second obstacle was nobody had a knife or a pair of scissors or anything, right? Being Marines, we should have that stuff. So eventually, we got some scissors. We were able to cut him down, drag him out. But at that point, it was beyond help. We tried to do what we were trained to do, and to save someone's life, but we were unsuccessful. I think it was beyond that point. So that's where I think the whole non-combat PTSD comes from, and that's that one thing I wanted to touch on there. It's not all veterans deal with the with the combat related PTSD aspect, and then that's where kind of mine came from initially. And then years later I dealt with I don't want to get too graphic, but obviously somebody had been shot in the head, and just dealing with trying to save them and everything that came along with that obviously adds to the PTSD aspect of the whole broad thing. So I don't know what else I can say on that right now.
No, I appreciate it, brother. It takes a lot of courage and vulnerability to share. I want to go back to a couple of things you said, but first of all, Eric, you want to take the floor, just introduce yourself, brother, a little bit about your service and maybe some of the things that you've experienced that have led to PTSD that you might experience. And you just want to check that microphone button, brother. There you go. You got you.
but I knew pretty early on that I was going to be joining the military, and more specifically the Marine Corps. I saw a Marine when I was a young child, and they just kind of set this impression on me, and I knew without a doubt that was what I was going to do. I ended up joining the Marine Corps at 17. I did join the infantry, and within the infantry, I did have a couple of different other jobs, to include a scout sniper, marksmanship instructor, it's like automatic rifleman, team leader, squad leader, scout, et cetera, et cetera. I came in 2000, just before 9/11 had happened. So I had one deployment under my belt that wasn't combat related, but very soon thereafter, we started training for what would end up being the invasion into Iraq. Some situations and some scenarios that definitely left a lasting impression. But there were some things that I experienced that were actually, pretty good. Seeing people, seeing them happy because they were liberated, et cetera, et cetera. But aside from my combat experiences, there was a whole other side that I experienced. And when I came back from that initial invasion from Iraq, and, we go on in our military careers, and we either go to other units or we re-enlist, or, and because of where I was at in my career, I had the option to re-enlist, which I did. So when I re-enlisted, I ended up going to another unit. And that's where I would become a marksmanship instructor. Well, the unit that I was in previously had deployed again for OIF 2 into, Iraq for Operation Phantom Fury. And that Operation Phantom Fury was going to go down. If I would have, I definitely would have taken a different career choice. But that was probably my worst Marine Corps experience. Once that operation kicked off, it was probably every week for, it seemed like a good month and a half or so. I was reading the base paper, the scout, and I was reading the names and I served with that were either wounded or killed. And that feeling of one place, having a safe place to stay. Teammates were literally, fighting for their lives. It took a pretty large, on me. There was plenty of nights when I would over and over again and reading these names over again, and I would just, I would turn to alcohol and I would just cry, early hours into the night, and it was pretty horrible. There was a lot of really early morning calls to my dad, telling him what happened, and then, hey, somebody else, and experience in combat were pretty traumatic, but there's nothing compared to being home, the people that you care about, really worthless.
Yeah. Wow. We're getting a little bit of cutting out on your mic, Eric. I'm not sure why, but I've got most of everything that you said, so no worries at all. But just be aware. Wow. I'm curious, gentlemen. Can we define, for the benefit of the audience, our listening audience, both here on the app and on the Spotify channels and where this is being posted, can we talk a little bit about how we define PTSD? Now, I know there's a clinical definition, but I'd love to hear both of you, gentlemen. What does it mean to you when we talk about this term PTSD? How would you define it? Fred?
Oh, man. There's different aspects of PTSD that I've dealt with. a way I could describe it would be kind of like, I think I've mentioned this to a lot of my friends, but it's, the way I describe it is a hole that I fall in, I can't get out of. Um, you know, when I know I'm dealing with, like, let's say, not like a relapse, but when I'm actually like experiencing symptoms of PTSD, I have what is called hypervigilancy, where I'm like 100% on watch all the time. Anxiety comes with that, cold sweats, hot sweats, irritability, anger, sadness. I mean, I feel like when it comes to me, it just, everything that you can think of that can be like detrimental to you, it's happening all at once, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautifully said. Eric, your thoughts? How would you define? Yeah,
Well,
I'm go for it one more time, Eric. I'll tell you what, I think anybody that's got a mic, could you just double check if you're not talking, just push that mic button for me and mute yourself. And that way we won't, I don't think we'll have any overriding. So that's perfect. Eric, go ahead, brother.
Denied. There's a there's a there's things that you see in movies, and with PTSD, I always try to downplay those symptoms and tell myself, oh, I got it under control. I'm not one of those guys. Hey, you know what? Like, this is things different than everybody else. Why do I react this way when other people can? It's just like the impending doom. Like, there is out, and it's all you know is just, it's just like terror, the end of the world types of, and
Yeah.
up, or how to get out or turn the light switch on.
Yeah. And Eric, I think,
And
hang on, brother, just a second. I think we've got so many challenges with your mic now, and I'm not sure what kind of mic you're on, but if I don't know, you keep cutting in and out. We lose you for a period and then we hear you for a period. Right now, I see you solid on my end, which means you've got a good connection. But anything that you can do to make an adjustment, that would be awesome, just so that we can hear you because it's important what you're sharing.
set and just go and just,
Yeah.
yeah,
is that,
definitely sounds like might be having an issue there.
Yeah. Yeah.
is this
Go
better?
ahead, Fred. Are you guys, yeah, that's better. Are you guys together or are you guys separate?
We are separate.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just didn't know if you were in proximity of each other. Your mic might run over the top of each other, but if you're separate, that sounds better, Eric. Go ahead, brother.
Okay, so I think we were touching up on um, PTSD and kind of, what we thought of, or what we, in our own words, basically what that was. And I think I was saying, it just feels like you're in this dark hole. You don't know which way's up. You don't know where the light switch is at. You don't know where the exit's at. And it's just, um, you don't know where to turn, really.
Yeah.
It's like the more you feel that way, at least in my experience, when I started feeling that way, I just wanted to basically build a barrier, build a wall, and just like, there's something wrong with me. I don't want to interact with other people. I don't want to go and do things. Like, I got to figure myself out and why I feel this way.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, that's kind of my experience with it.
Yeah, I've been able to, gentlemen, I appreciate you so much. Friends, I know we've had a little bit of technical difficulty, but hang with us, okay? This is such an important conversation to have. I think these conversations, friends, are so important because whether we experience, PTSD or ADHD or whatever it may be that someone else is experiencing, I think that we can relate. We can find a place of pain. We can find a struggle and we can go, I might not be going through your struggle, but I sense that I can understand a little bit because of my own struggle. And so when we listen closely to conversations like this, I believe that we can find healing for ourselves and regardless of what area we're walking out. Now, gentlemen, I think this is military related. I've had lots of conversations with military people. And I remember even at Sky Park, we were riding, maybe it was last Ride and Shine. We did a little bit of conversation with some of the veterans. And I remember there was a gentleman talking about he had a partner of his. He himself was supposed to be on the helicopter flying out. He didn't, but his partner did. And it was tragic that the helicopter was shot down out of the air and his friend, he lost his friend's life. Now, I remember him saying that he wished that would have been him. Now, I think only military, police, people could understand that. If it's not too much of a deep question, brothers, can you give me a little bit of insight as to what that is in that individual goes, God, that should have been me? You follow my question, gentlemen?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally remember who you're talking about. You're talking about Jacob from EVA. He's a leader of that
Yes.
the other veterans group that rides with us, and he shared that story when him and I were on the on stage. That was during the first Ride and Shine last year. And to touch on that, I mean, I know Eric firsthand knows this and feels it as well. We recently talked about it actually earlier today, which is it's this thing called survivor's guilt. It's where you know somebody else took your spot somebody else took your spot into leaving into the afterlife, but it should have been you. That type of thing. So it's definitely survivor's guilt. Um, and it's not just in military. I know that a lot of civilians, I mean, they deal with stuff like that too. Especially when they have family members who pass away from some sort of sickness. They're like, hey, it should have been me, or a car accident. It should have been me. You know what I mean? It's that survivor's guilt, and I think that's it definitely happens in the military, but it absolutely happens in civilian aspect as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard
Yeah.
that, Fred. I've heard of people say that about somebody was in a car accident and they were supposed to go, but something happened and they stayed behind and that kind of thing. That's bizarre, right, to think about, but that's survivor's guilt. That's what you're explaining, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Eric, your thoughts on that, brother?
Yeah. That kind of hits close to home. When I was stateside and my old unit was fighting in Operation Phantom Fury. Um, it's after talking to a counselor and just kind of going around it, I realized it's I don't want to think that I was like Superman, like I could have saved the day, like if I was there, that I could have saved everyone, that I could have seen something that they didn't. That wasn't what it was, but what it really came down to is like that was my team. Those are the guys that would lay down their life for me and me for them. And the fact that I wasn't there for them just hurt me to my core. And it was like I didn't. I just wanted to be there with them, suffer with them, bleed with them, and if they came to it, to die with them. And it's just it's a strange feeling. But you go through training, and it's like all you have is each other. And here I was, off to be an instructor, thinking that this second deployment for them wasn't going to be as bad. And lo and behold, they're going to Operation Phantom Fury. So it was a tough one to swallow for sure.
Mm. Yeah, I've done a lot of work in grief and crisis counseling, and one of the topics that always come up is when we talk about survival, the survivalists always ask that question, why me? Why did I survive? But I've seen movies, I've seen documentaries on these people that I mean, you've got one person that walks right in the midst of the gunfire and walks right through it, right, gentlemen? You've got another person that walks into the gunfire and never comes out of it. I just don't know how to explain that. But I can definitely sense the heartstrings being pulled, Eric. And it's this allegiance, this brotherhood, sisterhood, this familia that comes through the connection to military. That's a bond that's not easily broken, is it, gentlemen? I mean, I have it. It's very, very powerful.
No, and it is very powerful, and I think that's what, not to steal any thunder from Fred, but I think that's what makes Bomber Crew, such a positive thing. When we get out of the military, um, I call it like this. There's a honeymoon period when you get out. You get out of the military and you're excited to get out, and you're excited to conquer the world. You're excited to take on new challenges and really open that next chapter of your life. And once that honeymoon period kind of starts to wear off and you realize that you don't have the same support system that you had before when you were in the military, when you can go to work and you can train with people that had similar experiences, and now you're on the outside, now you're a civilian and you have nobody to turn to. And then to make things worse, it's like once you get out of the military, some of your best friends, they're from all over, parts of the country. So they go home to wherever they're from, and then you're left with, maybe a couple of friends that you still link up with. And that's what made Bomber Crew such a great and positive thing, is that we're able to all link up, and we have, we can all relate in some way, whether through the military or through another difficult time, or, just our love for writing and being patriots, really.
Yeah, I love it. Fred and I had a little pre-call or pre-text back and forth, and of course, it can be nervous coming on a call like this, and I told Fred, I said, it's just a simple conversation. It's like we're rolling up after an epic mountain bike ride. We're opening a cold one, sitting around the fire and just sharing stories and encouraging one another. So I love you guys for being so vulnerable. Those of you that are listening in, are you enjoying the conversation? Just throw some love in the air for these um, generals, as we refer to them. We appreciate you. Couple of questions, and I want to learn more about the Bomber Crew, the MTB group, and how it started. I wonder, do we have any family of military in the room? Just show me a heart. Your family, community, yes. Couple of you here tonight. Yep, I see you. Thank you for sharing. Yep. Um, Couple of questions, gentlemen. Whoever feels led to take the lead, what would you wish or hope someone close to you would know about you when you're at the deepest, darkest time so they could better support you or understand you? You follow what I'm asking? What would you want somebody to know the most about you during those moments?
Well, I mean, that's definitely a tough one. As military, most of the time, think that our families or friends wouldn't really understand anything we ask of them, because they can't relate. You know what I mean? They haven't been where we've been. They haven't dealt with the same thing we've dealt with, and that's kind of like how most of us feel. I know for sure that's how I feel. Sometimes, when I'm in this deep hole, my wife's tried, my family's tried, you know, and I'm quite honest. Sometimes I'm just like, just let me be. You know what I mean? Like I know they want help and I know they mean well, but sometimes if they just let me be, I could just you know, kind of like relax and kind of like do it on my own. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense. I don't know exactly what I'd want them to know, because I still feel like there's no way they can relate.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, very good. And give me a little space here, gentlemen. I don't, because this is with all due respect. When we experience deep tragedy, hurt, PTSD on our lives, would you consider that it's a defense mechanism of ours to go internally and to actually declaring you can't possibly understand me? Do you feel that that could be a part of our own defense mechanism, even an isolation technique because we just don't want to. We just don't want to face it. We just don't want anybody in our space at that moment. Does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah. I think it totally makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so hard because you take a relationship. I know my wife and I have been together for 32 years, and there were times where I go, if you just don't leave me the bleep alone, I don't know what I'm going to do. Right? It's like, and I can't get what you get, but I can get that feeling of you couldn't possibly understand me right now. I just experienced something so deep in my soul. How can you stand there and tell me how I feel? Because you don't. So that's what I'm hoping with these types of powerful conversations, gentlemen. We can actually bridge this gap to where the spouses don't feel completely isolated because they desperately love and want to help. So, gosh, that's any ideas on how we could bridge that gap a little bit, gentlemen, in our relationships with others, other than a brother?
Well, oh, sorry to cut you off, Eric. I'll just say it real quick. Like, for me, honestly, a way to bridge that gap is actually speaking on what really happened. I got out of the Marine Corps in 2010 and didn't seek any help whatsoever from anybody until 2019. So I dealt with it for 9 years on my own, whatever way I thought was the way to do it. You know what I mean? I was an angry person. I would become, violent towards items. I never became really violent towards any person, but I'd punch the walls. I'd hit TV. It's just items. Like, and I hate, putting out there that that's who I was, but that's who I was at the time. And many years later, I remember we were coming back from a camping trip with my wife, and I was irritable the entire camping trip. And then, I always felt like, oh, nobody's gonna understand me. Nobody's gonna understand me. And she was just like, just go, And I was like, and for some reason, it just clicked. And we were coming back from this camping trip, and I was sitting in the truck, and I just called the VA, and I was like, I need to make an appointment to go see somebody. It was literally on that drive back. So, maybe if I would have just listened to maybe family members before that, listen to my sister or my mom back when I was fresh, but like Eric and I spoke about earlier, like we're dudes, we're Marines, we're supposed to be tough. Like, we're not supposed to let any of that get to us. And I think that's another thing, we're supposed to be tough. Like, we're supposed to be able to handle this stuff. We're for lack of better words, we're supposed to be badass, and it's like, we're not, like, so at the end of it, we're not, we need to go get that help. And, I think just maybe listening, I guess that's the way I bridged it.
Yeah. I think anytime anybody tries to force things out of me or tries to pry too much, all it does is just shut me down. I mean, even talking with counselors, it takes a while. It takes a while before I could really, open up to them. And, but I think for family members, wanting to bridge that gap, I would say, just be present. Just be present with that person, and just sometimes you don't have to ask all the questions. You don't have to, but just know that you're not alone. Just be present with that person. And eventually, there could be, dialogue can start to go, and, conversations start to be had, but just, trying to be like, hey, what's wrong with you is like that's the wrong way of going about it, I think, because you're just going to get more closed doors more than anything. Did I lose you?
Nope. Yeah, sorry, I was on mute that time. See, I even do it, guys. No worries. Crazy. Do these 1,000 times and still put myself on mute. I was saying, Eric, you touched a part of my heart, because I remember when I first started to work in hospice and palliative care as a counselor and then as a chaplain, I used to go in at bedside and was uncomfortable in the moment of death and dying because I thought I was sent there on a mission to fix. I was sent there on a mission to even help. And it took me a long time to realize my mission was not to do anything, but to simply be there, right? And be present. And I hear you saying that. So family in the house, if you have a loved one's military, you have people that are in those high profile positions. Maybe one of the things that we could take with us tonight is teach me how to just simply be there. We don't have to have all the answers, right, guys?
No, just the presence of someone there can, it can be more than words can really express. It's a simple gesture, but when somebody's going through something, that could be enough.
Yeah, I love it.
Totally.
Somebody in the chat, lady, just put, there is a lot of healing to be had by just sitting with someone in helpless silence. Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. So, gentlemen, we take our careers. We still have moments of PTSD. Can you talk about a little bit? Trigger. The word trigger is very, very prominent in our society today, right? Everything can trigger. Do you gentlemen still deal with those? How do you deal with that? If you don't mind sharing a little bit.
I go for walks. It still happens at work. I'll get hit with random thoughts or completely random memories. I'll be in the middle of doing something at work and I'll just get a rogue thought that just comes way out of left field. And I know once it starts rolling on, I have to go to somewhere where I can either let it go. I have to go to the restroom. I have to just go for a walk. But over the years, what I have gotten really good at is grounding myself quickly. It saved me from a lot of embarrassing moments. But talking with counselors, it's being able to ground myself has been key, because it still happens.
Yeah.
It still happens.
So grounding yourself, just let me clarify, Eric. Grounding yourself is, oh, I feel this, and if I stay in this situation, I'm going to react in a way that could negatively impact somebody else around me. So I'm going to remove myself instantly from this situation. I'm going to take a walk. I'm going to jump on my bike and ride. I'm going to jump in the car and drive. And that could be dangerous sometimes too, because we could be not in the right state of mind to drive the car, right? But do I understand that correctly? That's what you're talking about? Those are great tools.
That's correct. Yeah, basically just bringing myself to the present and really just trying to abandon these rogue thoughts that try to hijack me, if you will, and just feeling just the sun is warm, the grass is green, just telling myself things like that, or just feeling the softness of a shirt or whatever it is. There's different methods of going about it, but yes.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Anybody else in the house maybe deal with rogue thoughts that try to hijack you? I'm going to quote you on that one, my brother. I love that. Rogue thoughts that try to hijack you. I got my hand in the air. I mean, thoughts can come out of nowhere. I remember my mother, I grew up, my mom was epileptic when I was a little boy. Kind of relates to the triggers, gentlemen, that we're talking about. And I remember she had grand mal seizures, and a seizure, she would make this horrific groaning, uttering noise. It almost sounded devilish, demonic, right? Scared the bejeebus out of me when I was a little boy. And I can, all these years later, I'm 58 now, and there's every once in a while, a sound will happen and it triggers something in me and scares the bejeebas out of me, and it's related back to that same noise. Isn't that freaking crazy how our brain does that to us? Gosh.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, like even for me, like triggers that'll set me off is like I said earlier with that Marine taking his life by hanging in that restroom, like simple things like going to Home Depot and wanting to use a restroom. I'll avoid that because going into that restroom, the smell of like humidity within like a small dark room, like just triggers me. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so there's a whole bunch of different like smells, sounds, that can definitely trigger to lots of different feelings. And, so I can definitely relate.
Yeah. But gentlemen, one of the things that, first of all, to commit to serving your country, to dedicate your lives. And Eric, you even talked about, and Fred talked about, even if I have to put down my life and lay down my life, there's no greater love the scripture says, than this, that a brother who would lay down his life for another. So I look at what you do in the service to your country as a very spiritual gift and service as well, gentlemen. So for that, we're very grateful. I know our conversation is pretty deep. I know we're talking about things we still struggle with, but the two of you, and Eric, I think we've ridden together, and I probably didn't know who you were, but I know I've seen Fred on the trails, and dude, you look happy as a lark. You are jumping, doing your thing. Talk to me about the bomber crew, how it started, and how much of a help it's been to you, and now thousands of others who are getting on board with the crew. You want to talk to us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So the bomber crew itself actually started with myself and Greg Smith, which we met in college when I was fresh out of the Marine Corps. I started school, and he was there, and I was like, I was a Marine, and he was like, hey, I was a Navy corpsman. So Navy corpsman is a Marine medic. They're basically Marines, but in the Navy. And so, we met back then. We kept in contact in and out. And one day, I've always been a two-wheel kid. I rode bikes and motorcycles and bikes. So one day he called me and he was like, hey, dude, I just got a mountain bike. Like, let's go ride. I was like, all right, cool. Come ride with me. I wasn't really into it like I am now. So we started riding, and like, we just got to talk about things that where we spoke the same language. You know what I mean? So, we met with a few other people. Our friend Tatsu, which I know was a big part of it. We started riding with him, and he owns a shop, automotive shop, and they had recently donated a vehicle to like a veterans village in Placentia, I believe. And we were riding together, and I was like, hey man, I want to do something for veterans and mountain biking, because it's definitely helped me and it's helped Greg. So let's see what we can do. And he was like, cool, like, whatever you need, I can help you out. So he knew a lot of more people in the mountain bike community. So he started putting me in touch with other people. And then I was like, dude, let's have a Memorial Day ride. And that was just like this crazy idea. Let's have a Memorial Day ride. We weren't the bomber crew at this point. We were just having a good time riding together. And we also just like started buying this jersey made by a motocross company that had these like shark teeth on the side, and it was more more along the sides of like bomber planes or whatever. So I remember one day we were at the Fullerton Loop and we're just riding together, and there was like 5 of us wearing the same jersey, and it was like all coincidental. And I was just like, dude, we're the bomber crew or something like that. I just blurted out whatever the name, and I was like, hey, that sounds kind of cool. So in talking to Tatsu, we were like, okay, bomber crew is going to be the name. And then I just like created a Facebook page, created an Instagram for it, and then we just started blowing it up. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to have this ride for veterans. Let's ride for veterans. And we didn't expect a lot of people to show up. We were like, all right, maybe like 20 people will show up, and it's going to be fun, And I started getting messages from the guys from EVA, which is that, the other military mountain bike group from San Diego. And they were like, hey, we're going to come out. And we're like, oh, cool. Like, and all of a sudden, all these people were like into it. And before you know it, day comes, we have this Memorial Day ride, and there's like 80 some people that show up. And I was like, whoa, like, it was totally unexpected. And from that day, we just started hosting rides. Like, it just became like this like adrenaline thing where it's like, we got to ride every weekend. So it was like, well, let's host a ride every Sunday. Let's host a ride every Sunday. And then people just started coming out of everywhere. I designed a logo, created a jersey. I sent off and made stickers. Like, I was just putting in like a lot of work to make it happen, because I was like, it's happening to, it helped me. It's going to help other people. And it was gaining a lot of traction. So that's kind of like where Bomber Crew came from. And ever since then, it's been, grabbing a lot of traction. And it's just become this like snowball or avalanche that just keeps growing and growing,
I love it. Eric, I'd love to hear from you. And then those of you that are in the house that ride with the Bomber Crew, I want to open it up to you as well and have you share your experience. How did you find the crew? What do you get out of riding with them? But before we get to you, Eric, how did you and Fred connect then in the Bomber Crew element?
So it was that first Memorial Day ride that where Bomber Crew met. I was actually supposed to go on that ride, and I had planned on going, but being that it was Memorial Day weekend, I got too lost in my thoughts and emotions, and I couldn't make it out. But once I did, I'm very glad that I did. I just, to be honest, it kind of felt like home. It kind of felt like home in the sense like this is what I was looking for. I'd been doing a lot of riding on my own at that point. I had some, I'd make friends that mountain biked over the years, but then they would either move off or I just, they're too far away, whatever the case was. So a lot of times I was just riding by myself, and it was just perfect timing. I'm not sure exactly how I found them, but it's been a great experience, and I've been really fortunate to have found Bomber Crew and everybody that comes on these rides. It's always been a positive thing. The stoke is always really high. So many people that are on this call, they remember this moment. Actually, I know Shiloh's gonna remember. I know Fred's gonna remember. But whenever I feel down, some of my best memories, recent memories, were with the Bomber Crew. And I remember one particular moment. We're on the chairlift at Snow Valley. And it was just this kind of cheesy, like Instagram call thing that we were doing. But I have it saved as one of my favorite videos just because we were just vibing so much off of each other. And it was just like such a good feeling, good positive feeling. And I was hooked. I've been hooked.
Yeah, I can definitely remember that. And once in a while we'll go back and watch that same video, and I'm just like, man, like everybody. I think Echo was there, Shiloh was there, and everybody was just flowing, and it was just fun. And I think we were on the live Instagram thing, and probably nobody else was watching, but we were all watching each other on our phones, and it was just the best. It was the best. I mean, if you go on our Instagram, and you go looking for it, you'll eventually find it, and it's just one of those things. I mean, I know Shiloh's in here, and she can definitely speak on that.
Yep, Shiloh, I think they just called you out. So come on, join this conversation with us. Talk about the stoke that you experienced, and somebody in the house has got to define stoke before we get done with this call. Shiloh, you want to take the floor? Just check your mic and make sure that you're off of mute. Shiloh, can you hear us?
There we go.
There we go.
It wasn't working.
It's all right. It's all you. We're still waiting.
Oh, man. So this particular day event that turned into a Bomber Crew ride was my birthday. And we used that day as to get everybody together, obviously to go ride and make sure that we did do that live video, that Fred would put it on there to announce the Veterans Day ride that would come the next month, because my birthday is at the end of October. Veterans Day is in basically the middle of November. So so there was that event of just when you're on the chairlift, it's quiet, it's peaceful, you just talk to each other. And when Freddie got on the live chat, then the other guys that were either in chairs ahead of us or chairs behind us got online, and we just started laughing at each other. And it was the best feeling of just pure enjoyment and being in the essence of that stoke, what we're saying. And it's all just the vibes of just joy, pure joy. It was the best birthday gift I could have ever received. I have to say that.
I love it. I love it. Somebody in the audience, a mountain biker, want to take on the stoke word and define it for us? Some brave soul out there, maybe Vic or Echo, want to share your thoughts on what stoke is for the rest of us? That would not be it. That would be a motorcycle going by.
Stoke.
Stoke. Come on, Echo. Stoke. Talk
Stoke.
to us about stoke.
Man, when I think of stoke, I just think of pure like excitement. Like there's if anybody can feel a stoke, it's like you're so lucky, because you don't really feel a lot of stoke in your adult life unless you do something like mountain bike, or like, I don't know, jump on trampolines or jump out of planes, or but like just being super, super excited to do something, and just like you know, the vibes are high and everybody's like, you know, just on a positive note. Yeah. So when the stoke is high, it's a good time.
I love that. I wish we could figure out a way to bottle the stoke. Maybe we could put it in a pill form, right, guys? And we could just pop it when we need it. Come on, somebody.
That's mountain biking. Mountain biking's the pill.
Yeah, very, very, very true. Very true. Hey, some of our other friends out there, Vic, open it up. You have experience with riding with the bomber crew. What are your thoughts? How do you find it helpful for you, relaxing for you, helping you deal with some things, brother? You mind sharing a bit? Can I call you out?
I think he just said he's listening only.
He's listening only.
Can I hey Jeff, can I say something to the guys real quick?
Of course.
Awesome. All right. Well, not to get too long. Okay. You guys are amazing. I've always wanted to personally be in the military, and for different reasons I wasn't able to. So y'all are already superheroes in my book. Add the support that you've given me and the rest of the people in your lives. You guys may have some sort of an idea of the impact you've made, but I'm here to tell you have no clue. And I know I don't speak for only myself when I say that. Thank you guys so much. And you do that so all while battling like your own demons and being fathers and being husbands and supporting your friends and working. So don't hate me for saying thank you for your service, but thank you from the depths of my soul for your service, your friendships, and for being such phenomenal human beings.
Wow. Yeah.
Yes, amen to that, guys.
I'm rather speechless. I mean, I'm happy you found us, and I'm happy we found you. You know, I don't know. I don't even know what to say to that. I just a big, huge thank you and a big hug, I guess.
That's definitely heartfelt.
Yeah. I remember riding. We were riding the Hall of Crooks when Echo was in the hospital, right? And we were out there. And everybody's not ridden Hall of Crooks, and you guys all talked me into that crap. You know that, right? Oh, come on, Jeff. Come on, Jeff. You can do it. Yeah, right.
Of course.
I love those e-bikers that tell the analog bikers you can do it. No, we don't want to start that conversation. Hey, I will say this, guys. You know what I did? I went out and bought me a tow rope. And I got a little bag that tucks tight up underneath of my A-frame. So I'm good to go. I've got my own rope. So the next time I'm anywhere and need a lift and a tow, I'm going to hang on to somebody. I'm going to hang on to one of you guys so I can get up that mountain. That trip up to the top of Hall of Crooks is a beast to try to ride up that. So, but I remember we were riding, and I remember we were talking about Echo. She was in the hospital, and I was riding beside Adam Mock, and we were, traversing up. There's that bench area there where all the stickers are at, guys, right? And Vic actually brought a bunch of stickers for Echo, and we laid that sticker down on that bench, took a picture of it, and the views, all of that energy stoke around that event was so super cool, and it just kept lingering throughout the days afterwards. Everybody's post was getting reshared. What a community, Fred. What look at this, a vision in your heart, my brother.
Yeah,
all those years ago, look at it.
It was one of those things that's out there. And actually, we have our buddy Emmanuel listening. He's also a combat veteran who is a Purple Heart recipient as well, who, is he himself and his son ride with us. So I don't know if he wants to chime in, but I know he's definitely a big part of the crew, and hopefully it's helped him in a big way.
Wow. Emmanuel, honored to have you here with us, brother. You're welcome to come on. Just take a second if you feel comfortable, introduce yourself or chime in, brother. Floor is yours.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you're coming in loud and clear.
Yeah, so we found the crew by accident because me and Fred are in a Tundra group on Facebook, and I don't remember how it happened. He ended up throwing up a flyer for the Memorial Day ride, and I almost didn't go to that because my friends flaked on me and my anxiety was up, and my son, Matthew, the MTB mini bomber, he agreed to go with me, even though at the time he wasn't the best at mountain biking. But, he joined me, and just experiencing everybody there, the camaraderie that we all had and shared that day. But, yeah, that's pretty much it. And became good friends with a lot of you guys.
I love it, Emmanuel. I appreciate it. I just dropped in the chat. I love mini bomber. We were riding the White Cross, and I think you guys were coming down and I was going up, and he kind of flew by me and he came to a screeching halt and came back and he said, "Wait a minute, I know you." He said, "Aren't you Jeff Kroom?" And I said, "Aren't you the mini bomber?" And he reaches deep in his pocket and pulls out one of those huge round stickers that he had made. He's got this huge grin on his face, right? He was so proud of that sticker. I still got that sticker on my wall, my sticker wall out of my garage where my work.
Yeah, I do remember that day. He was so happy. He said, "Dad, somebody recognized me." I was like, "Okay."
Yeah. And
he's right here. You want to chime in?
Yeah, come on, mini bomber. Say hello to everybody. How's it going, man?
How's it going?
Good. You're famous. You know that, right?
So.
Yeah, so. It's good to have you say hi on here. I got your sticker on my workbench. I was just telling Dad and the crew when you and I passed each other there up on the White Cross. So it's good to have you on tonight, my friend.
All right. Nice talking to you.
Super, super cool. Hey, friends, we're running out of time. Could you believe that an hour has already gone by? I love it when conversations like this happen because we can climb out of our shells and we can climb out of our roles and whatever jobs we hold, and we just be human beings, right? Just people around the campfire, opening a cold one. Thoughts, gentlemen? Maybe questions from our audience that give you a chance. Do you have a question for our veterans tonight that you would like to ask, or you have a comment that you want to share? Otherwise, I'm going to let both Fred and Eric have the floor for a little bit and kind of share some closing thoughts with us before we wrap up tonight. Anybody at all have something they'd like to share? Vic says, LOL, anyone have any extra pedals? All right, Vic, we'll hit you up with some extra pedals.
All right, I think I've got some extra pedals.
See, that's a mountain biker for you. We always got extra parts, right? We always carry around extra parts. And we're stopping and helping people on the trail. They're broken down. They need something. Everybody will stop. So
that's how we do it.
Yeah, indeed.
So,
last comments?
Let's see, anything else?
Yeah, Fred, comments.
Yeah, I just want to put myself out as an example that, if you're dealing with something, don't wait so long. I waited 9 years to get some sort of help, and I could have avoided a lot of terrible relationships and this and that if I would have just gotten the help that I required at back then. Being a Marine, being a man, it's tough to say, hey, I need help, but at the end of the day, you just do it. You don't have to tell anybody. Just privately do it. If you're ashamed of that, any your friends or family are going to say anything, just go do it on your own and just find that inner peace that you need. I should have sought help months after I got out rather than 9 years after I got out. So I just want to put that out there. Like you're actually tough by getting help rather than not. You know what I mean? So that's how I see it out there. And if if you're afraid of it, come ride bikes with us, and we can chat about it, and hopefully my story and everybody else's story can lead you towards talking to somebody or getting some help.
Yeah, beautifully said, brother. Yeah, beautifully said. Don't wait so long to ask for help. I have an upcoming guest on Circles, Dr. Turner. She's the Chief Transformation Officer for Crisis Text Line. And we're going to be talking about that very thing, Fred. And I think you, Eric, the bomber crew, those are brave enough to share their stories. Tonight you're breaking the stigma, Fred, that there's shame attached with asking for help. If I do anything behind the microphone, one of my main goals is to break the stigma of shame for asking for help. Because how many lives could be saved if we just felt that we were accepted? If we were just as accepted by saying I'm broken as we are if I say I'm super, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool, man. Eric, thoughts, comments, last words?
Yeah, last words, I suppose, there's, we've already, kind of touched on it, regarding, going out there and getting help. And you can't stress it enough. Sometimes we think that it's like, sometimes we feel like we're alone, right? But if there was a bubble that was over everyone's head, and in that bubble were their thoughts and their stressors in life and the things that they're battling, I think we as a whole, as people, we have a lot more in common than we think, and we're all really, battling something. And it's like, just don't be so proud to not reach out there and talk to someone. Like, even if you have to talk to them multiple times, it's like after I'm done, after speaking to a counselor for, a few months or whatever the case is, it's like I'm working out, I'm getting stronger handling my emotions. So if you talk to a counselor, and you're going to get some good tools to cope and deal with things, but you might need to go back and go again, do it kind of maybe regularly. But just, there's a lot of people that are struggling with stuff, and we all as a whole really just need to reach out when we need help, whether it's military related or not. There's a lot of people that struggle with stuff, and that's all I can say is really just reach out. We're all battling something, and don't think that you're alone in your thoughts and feelings. That's probably the biggest thing. The older I get, the more I talk with people, I realize that a lot of people are dealing with things, and they're dealing with past trauma. And if they're not, then man, they kind of won the lottery, because like I said, a lot of people that I've talked to over the years, everybody's dealing with something, and just don't be afraid to reach out, get help.
Yeah, I love that, brother. You're not alone. One of that's the main purpose that Circles exists. When the CEO, the founder, Rod, his mother was going through cancer, he walked in, tried to provide support. He was doing the best he could as a son, but he walked in one time and she was on the phone with a friend of hers who was also going through cancer. And he said, Jeff, she lit up. In other words, she felt that connection, Fred. That's what you were talking about earlier, my brother, is you can't possibly get me. How powerful is it to get support from someone who gets you? That's what Circles has done, man. That's what Circles is all about. And you being here on the platform is a testament to that, because we're all in this room gleaning something from somebody else who has been through difficulties. Gentlemen, I am so grateful you are here. I think we could go on, but we've got to bring this to a close. Lori, thank you for being here. Echo, thank you for being here. Shiloh, thank you for being here. Melissa, Emmanuel, Mini Bomber, Marla, Fred, Lady, Eric, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for your service. Thank you for being brave enough to come on and talk about it. And do me a favor, gang, check out the chat. You can buy the jersey. I think it's $79. What a tribute to the bomber crew. Wear the garb, right? Wear the merch. Make it happen. If you're looking for a good crew to ride bike with, there's no better as far as I'm concerned. Gentlemen, thank you for being on Circles and being my special guest. I appreciate you.
Awesome. Thank you for having us. Thanks everybody for the support. We really appreciate it.
Likewise.
All right.
You.
You're welcome, Eric. All right, super friends, that's all the time we have. My name is Jeff. I've been your host right here on Circles Masterclass. At the end of our room, you're going to have a chance to rate the room, share your feedback and comments, maybe share one thing that you're going to take with you from tonight's conversation. Leave that in the comments. We get to share that with Fred and Eric as well. When you share your thoughts with us, we share them with them, and it encourages them to continue doing what they do. If you would like to follow me, you can just simply do that at the close of the meeting. When I have more meetings like this, you'll get noticed. Our dear friend Echo, good to have you in the house on the call with us tonight as well, my love. We can't wait to ride with you. All right, my friends, go have pizza, go open a cold one. Congratulations to everybody. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next time right here on Circles. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.